Good morning, Boker Tov. At the conclusion of this week's Torah portion, we have a fascinating story. It's the story of Miriam, the one and only sister of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, speaking to her brother Aaron about their brother Moses. You see, Moses had separated from his wife because he was on such a high spiritual plane, in constant contact with God through prophecy, that he felt he couldn't be with his wife. And Miriam was very concerned, and she went to talk to her brother Aaron about Moses. And God intervenes, and God reprimands Miriam and Aaron and says, "Were you not afraid to speak against my most faithful, loyal servant Moses? How can you speak Lashon Hara about your brother?" Obviously, if you're concerned about something your brother did, you should speak to him directly. You should not go speak to your other brother about Moses. And as a result of this, Miriam is struck with the punishment for Lashon Hara, which in biblical times was tsarat, leprosy. And she had to be quarantined outside the camp for 7 days. But the conclusion of the Torah portion is that the entire nation of Israel, men, women, and children, waited for her to return to the camp before they traveled on. They showed her tremendous honor by not departing until she was cured. And our rabbis say, why did she receive such an honor that an entire nation waited for her? And our rabbis say, because she was being rewarded for what she had done as a girl. You see, as a little girl, when her baby brother Moses was put into the Nile, to be hidden from Pharaoh and his servants, to be rescued ultimately by Pharaoh's daughter, the Torah tells us in the book of Exodus that Miriam stood from a distance and watched over her baby brother. And because she stood and waited over her brother and protected him and watched over him when he was in the Nile, the entire nation of Israel reciprocated her act of kindness and goodness and waited for her until she was cured 7 days later before they traveled on. And here our rabbis are teaching us a very powerful lesson. Sometimes a small act of goodness and kindness and love could have repercussions and positive effects way beyond what we could expect. Because not only was she able to rescue her brother Moshe from the Nile by collaborating with the daughter of Pharaoh to conceal his identity and raise him in the palace, but this Moshe Rabbeinu went on to become the Redeemer of Israel and the lawgiver. And therefore, 40 years later, as the entire nation is in the desert, in the wilderness, they recognized that it was thanks to this woman Miriam, as a little girl, that they were liberated into freedom from slavery, that they were given the Torah at Mount Sinai, and that they had such a great leader, Moses. And therefore, this was their way of saying thank you to Miriam. I was watching an interview with Omer Shem Tov, one of the freed hostages that everyone knows, of course, and he told a lovely story. He said that when he was finally released after 15 months, and he was being flown by helicopter from Gaza back to Israel. And of course, the helicopter makes a lot of noise, so they have ear muffins, to protect their ears from the noise. And they handed him a whiteboard to write a message to the people of Israel who are awaiting his return. And so he took the whiteboard and he wrote, "Achshav hakol beseder," with a smiley face, which means now everything is good. Baruch Hashem, with a smiley face. And he handed back the board, and they took pictures of that sign. And then he motioned to them in the helicopter to give him back the whiteboard. They handed it back, and he wrote, "P.S. Ani rotzeh lechol burger." I want to eat a burger. That's his hope. He hadn't eaten a burger in 15 months. He said when the helicopter landed on the rooftop of the hospital, and he came into the hospital, there were hundreds and hundreds of burgers being delivered. Every restaurant owner that saw his request started sending trays of burgers to the hospital. He says there was literally hundreds of burgers arriving, and they had enough burgers to serve all the staff and all the nurses and the doctors in the entire hospital. This is the gratitude of a nation, the love of a people who says, you survived, you endured 15 months in captivity. We are not only overjoyed to see your return, but we thank you for your sacrifice, for your courage, for your resilience, which is an inspiration for all of us. Just like the nation of Israel thanked Miriam for her courage and her sacrifice. We are part of a great nation, and everything we do as Jews is not just for ourselves, it's for the Jewish people, it's for Klal Yisrael, it's for Am Yisrael. And therefore, we should know that we have the love of the entire people of Israel and the strength of the Jewish people behind us, supporting us, encouraging us. And therefore, let us act the way Miriam did, with love, dedication, and strength. Have a wonderful day.